Okay, folks, it is 3 o'clock and we know it's right before the Thanksgiving holiday, so we will not delay in getting started. My name is Roland Antoine, and welcome to the Clever and Texas Home Learning 3.0 webinar on digital learning tools. This is the second in the series. And we thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. Jennifer, if you want to, there we go. My name is Roland Antoine. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology Supports for the Texas Education Agency. Formerly, I was the Deputy CTO of Dallas ISD. And I will be one of your hosts. The actual presenter is Jennifer Tran. She is with Clever. She's a district success manager for Clever, and has a very long, distinguished resume, including working with the U.S. Department of Education, and probably one of the sharpest people I know. So now I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer, and she will be the presenter from this point forward. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you so much. That was very kind of you to say that, Roland. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Tran. I'm a district success manager here at Clever. I work with Texas districts, and I've had the distinguished pleasure to be working with Roland and his team on some of the rollout pieces that we'll be talking about today. So before I jump in, I would love to give some context for today's conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about Clever. We're going to talk a little bit about the analytics tools that can be used for attendance and student engagement monitoring. And then we'll also talk through what the actual setup process will look like for those of you who are interested in setting up with Clever if you haven't already started that process. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to kick it off. Okay, so what is Clever? If you haven't worked with us before, or if you haven't heard of us before, we are actually a free instructional portal that is set up at a district level that allows students and teachers to access instructional resources based on whatever criteria is set at a district level. So I know for many of you who manage technology, one of the constant questions that you have to navigate is, how do I make sure XYZ resource, whether that's Imagine Math or iStation or Renaissance, is shared with the right people, especially if you're working in a district that is really large or complicated. Clever is meant to help streamline that process through our SSO and rostering tools. So what that does is actually allows you a single point of access to come to these resources for your students and teachers. What they see on their end is the list of their icons in one place. And what you see on the back end is a seamless dashboard to be able to manage each of the resources you're working with. So a little high level overview of our two main tools are listed here. So the SSO tools that actually allow students to use a single sign-on or a single credential to access all their resources, or in this case, the Texas Home Learning resources. And then on the other end, the rostering, or the data that's coming through from your student information system that allows us to support the Clever portal.
Jennifer, if I could add, just to provide some context to the relationship between Clever and the Texas Home Learning resources. So as of right now, the Carnegie Matthias solution is the primary resource that would need to use Clever to properly roster students into the resource by their grade level, or if you're trying to do a targeted pilot of Mathia. But by the end of this month, I believe, there will also be Amplify, reading language arts resources, Great Minds, science and math resources, and with a couple of other resources that are more sophisticated than the PDFs currently available on the THL site, available also. all those resources will require some type of rostering and single sign-on solution, and Clever is probably the best and easiest way to do that. Also, what Jennifer felt, she didn't fail to highlight it, but one of the coolest things about Clever is that you can actually use a QR code badge to log into Clever, or if you're using Chromebooks, you can use the QR code badge to log into the Chromebook as well as in the Clever at the same time. Okay, I just wanted to make that point. So, because I'd always think that's a cool thing. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jen.
that is, well, first, thank you for adding that context. And I love that we're getting to hear about it in the context of the THL resources. We do have a couple dedicated slides to talk a little bit more about some of the options we have available for a single sign-on. But yes, I agree with you. Badges are one of my favorite things that we offer. So that's who we are. And we'll dive deeper into that as we go through this presentation. But I just wanted to give you that primer. So how this works in your ecosystem, what we've already touched on is not only can you SSO into any of the resources, so any of the things that Roland's already mentioned here, your Carnegie's, your other wonderful digital resources that are available through the TEA, you can also set it up for anything that you already have that you're using within your districts. And this is meant to create a one-stop shop, more or less, for your whole district. And the most important part, and probably the most salient part of this conversation, is that it's meant to work from wherever you are, right? Whether that's in school, whether that's at home, whether that's somewhere else. And I think that's something that we cannot understate, simply because of the environment that we're living in, and what we don't know is waiting for us in the coming months. Other things that I want to call out that Clever can support is that we do have roles for school level folks and digital coaches, as well as a family resource, so that you really are creating this holistic ecosystem that's not just about connecting students and teachers to the digital resources, but everybody else that you may be managing in a district ecosystem. Um, and one thing I do also want to note, I believe someone had already popped into the chat, and please feel free as things come up. It's about the integration with Schoology. We do have a SSO integration with Schoology, so that allows you to create a bridge across all of these resources. And so that's another great example of a way you can use Clever to centralize all the things you may be using.
Also, Jennifer, if I could add just for context, um, the integration with Schoology currently is what is known as LTI integration, which is a content integration that allows the content of certain THL resources to be seen inside of Schoology or connected to directly from Schoology.
Mhm.
That does not necessarily create a single sign-on and rostering relationship. That's a separate, generally handled by a separate tool or in a separate way. The the methods for that can be something as time-consuming as creating your own CSV uploads, or you could just let Clever handle it. So that's why we are introducing the Clever, because it handles the other half of the relationship between um, your student information system and the THL resources.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And we can dive further into some of the details of how you can get those integrations set up, and also just, tightly built, so that whatever you're using, we can create as seamless of an environment for y'all as possible. Okay, so that's who we are. And I just wanted to give you a quick visual of what this actually looks like in real time. This is a student that's logging into their portal and able to see all the resources that have been set up for them. And that's effectively the vision that we're trying to lay out for anybody who is in your school district. Another thing that I know has been of interest, especially in the remote environment, and that I know Roland and I have discussed extensively along with his team, is how do you use the tools that are available to you to determine things like student engagement and attendance? especially in a hybrid or remote environment. Those pieces of data are essential, right? They are key to how you do reporting and how you are able to access resources. And so we wanted to talk through some of the tools that are available on the Clever end. So starting at a district level, one of the great things about the Clever resource is not only do you get to centralize all the resources that are available at your district level, you can also continue to see data about it, and not just data about the resources themselves, but about usage. So you'll see here in the mock, we've populated usage metrics by the users that have been shared with these resources, as well as generic data about total logins, or logins by school, or logins by specific apps. We have additional filters that allow you to get really granular in determining who has been accessing whatever specific resources you have set up within Clever. We also include within our analytics dash here additional data about login methods, devices, and browser types, especially as we think further about the remote environment that we're currently in. Another tool that's available at the district level is something that we call, oops, actually clicked on that, our participation reports. So this is something that we're really excited about and that we just recently released, that are available to district administrators and soon enough to school level roles as well, where they will have access to daily participation data for students, teachers, and staff. What that means is that, as you can see in the mock here, a district administrator can come in and pull a report for Monday, pull a report for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so on, to be able to determine who has been within Clever and who hasn't. Something that I think is really important and a wonderful use case for these reports is not only to validate whatever existing data you have about attendance, but also when you're thinking about archival and auditing. I know that's something that Roland and I have discussed pretty extensively and has been top of mind for many districts as they navigate this environment. So this is another tool that is currently available and will soon be available for school level administrators as well. Switching gears, I want to talk about some of the analytics tools that we have available for teachers. As we all know, teachers are the folks that are closest to students and the ones who have probably some of the greatest challenges when it comes to determining not only attendance, but student engagement in this remote environment. They don't have eyes on their students in the way that they used to. They're not able to just look up and take a look around the classroom to see who is on task or who is using a specific resource. And so this data that is populated within their accounts is giving them that visual no matter where they are. So similar to what we just walked through at a district level, teachers can actually pull data on all of their students in their classes. This is our example of a teacher with multiple students here, and be able to see over a course of a week, or the default is a week, but the idea is over a period of time, what resources students have accessed and whether or not they've been in Clever at all. So this is a great way for them to be able to determine not only attendance, but also student engagement. Another layer of this is that what we just mentioned at the top. So not only do we get data about the student resources that are being used, but whether or not they've been in Clever. And if they haven't been in Clever, when was the last time they were in Clever? And so this is a great way for teachers to very quickly identify who they need to follow up on and who they need to engage for additional support. So in this example, this teacher has 15 students that hasn't had activity in the last week. And outside of a holiday week, that's something that's very concerning. And so that is an immediate flag for the teacher to say, okay, these are the 15 teachers the 15 students that I should follow up with to see if they are getting the resources that they need, if there's anything else that may be in their way. So this is another tool that we offer to teachers, all within the Clever portal, to support them with student engagement and attendance. So if that wasn't enough, and as you could probably tell, we love analytics here at Clever. We have also embedded that within a new tool that we've just rolled out these last few months, and that's messaging. So again, I know one of the biggest challenges right now is communication, and we wanted to build within our platform an ability for teachers especially to communicate with students and their families. So currently, teachers can communicate with students and they're able to follow up with them. So if we look back at the previous example, at the 15 students that hadn't logged in, the teacher can take a next step of being able to communicate with them through Clever or by accessing the information that's available and reaching out and starting the conversation within our platform. We're also making that tool available through the family portal, which is the resource that we have available for families, and that is also coming soon. So that is an overview of the analytics that are available at a district level and at a teacher level by default. All of these resources are already enabled once you set up an account. Once you get going, there are no additional pieces that you'll need to configure. However, if you want additional data, we have another tool that can help you out. And this one, I'm a little partial, but I think this one is one of the more robust tools that we have in our analytics toolbox. This EdTech Analytics tool is powered by a browser extension. So something that you can push out on, something that you can push out on Chrome. So for Chromebooks or for Windows devices, that actually allows you to gather data on not just the resources that you're using within Clever, but any other educational resources that may be used. And what I mean by that is, as we all know, there are so many different digital learning tools that may be used on a regular basis. And many of them aren't known, right? Like they're certainly not known at a school level and definitely not known at a district level, at least not all the way through. These could be the things that may come to mind like Kahoot or maybe drawing resources or news sites or other additional educational resources that aren't necessarily products that you buy or that you have to install or integrate, but are still part of a curriculum. And so this tool that we have available to you, also again, at no cost and part of the platform, is something that allows you to pick up data on those resources. So it gives you a further view of everything that may be used at a district level. So again, I wanted to walk through all of these analytics tools with all of you just to give you a view of the things that are available through Clever, and also to underscore the fact that there are many robust tools at multiple levels that can be set up through our platform. Great. So I'll stop there, see if there's any questions from the group. And if you do, feel free to just pop them into the chat and we can treat this in a conversational way. I'd love to know if anyone has any questions about analytics. Okay, looks like folks are feeling good about that. So if you do, no worries, just keep popping them in the chat and we'll have dedicated time at the end as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what you can do as you get started. So this is specifically for those who have not set up a Clever account yet. If you have, this flow is actually a lot easier. But for those of you who are brand new to us or who are interested in getting started, we want to walk through a couple of those steps. So here's the high level. First, you'll sign up for a district account. So that I'll talk through, but effectively we want to get that started before we can have anything else. Secondly, we'll want to set up a data sync. And what that means is, again, going back to the very beginning and how we actually have this platform run is we need to have access to data that's within your student information system. And so we'll talk through what that actually looks like. And then lastly, we'll talk through login methods. So as a single sign-on tool, we'll want to make sure that whatever login method works best for you, for your district, for your students and teachers, are the ones that are set up as well. And that includes, the QR codes that Roland called out at the beginning, or things like Google or Active Directory. All right, so jumping right in, if you have not signed up for a district account, no worries, the process is super straightforward. I believe we will be sharing this deck out afterwards, but the easiest way to get started is to go to this link, go.clever.com/district signup, fill out this form that is fairly straightforward, and just let us know in the notes section at the very bottom that you're setting up with the Texas Home Learning Program. That allows us to get you direct support with our incredible onboarding team, and make sure that you have a tailored experience to support the home learning resources that you're hoping to use. That process is fairly straightforward and should, once you're ready to go, you'll get a notification once your account is created, and you'll be able to get started with the process. We'll also have onboarding specialists walking you through all of this, but just to give you a high level, oopsies. What's going to happen is you are going to be prompted as you're going through the setup to set up your data sync. What I'm showing you is a visual little sneak peek from within your account of how you do that, but we offer a couple different data sync options. So depending on your student information system, we may have already a preset option available for you, so you can do minimal work in getting ready and getting set up. A couple of them are listed here. I know this sounds like a lot of big words packed in here, so I'll break them each down and talk through what that looks like. So starting with the first one, Clever Managed Autosync. That's effectively a formal term on our end for student information systems that we have a formal partnership or formal integration with, and that we can set up an integration with or a data sync with automatically for you. And so a couple of those are Aries, Infinite Campus, PowerSchool, Skyward, Illuminate. If you have any of those SISs, you'll be able to get running pretty quickly in just a couple of steps, and we'll be able to support you with our onboarding team. If you have a SIS managed autosync, effectively what this means is much the same to the Clever managed one. We have a relationship with the SIS where you're able to get in contact with them, and they will be able to manage the data sync for you. So they've worked with us before, or they're familiar with the data that needs to come to Clever, and we'll be able to get that up and running. And just usually requires reaching out to your representative or your contact, your support contact at your student information system. So a couple of those are Fax, ProLogic, Teams, Frontline, Rediker, Tyler, and Focus. There's a longer list, but I know these are some of the more common ones that we've seen among Texas districts. One of the special exceptions, because I know many folks on the line have a Texas SIS. Basically, we have a similar to the other SISs. We also have a setup in place. So you'll just want to make sure that you contact your rep at your ESC about getting that data sync ready with Clever. And then if any of the folks from ESCs are on the line, you'll want to refer to our instructions that are linked here, and we'll be shared out afterwards on how to format the CSV files that are coming from the student information system. So I wanted to call that out specifically because many folks on the line use Texas, but also because I know that's a process that also involves another person at the ESC. Okay. Now, what if in some situation, or you find yourself in a situation where you have none of these options, you're not using one of the Clever managed things or SIS managed ones, or even Texas? Are you out of luck? Not necessarily. We actually have a last option for you, which is effectively a manual SFTP upload. So you can format files in a format CSV files and then drop that to us either through an SFTP box or, or through direct uploads. Obviously, that is the more complicated process and more manual process, but it is available for districts that are not using any of the SISs that we've listed or would just like to manage the process themselves. So I've talked through a lot of the different sync options because I want to underscore the fact that no matter what SIS you're using, or no matter how your data is managed, there is an option for you. And again, our onboarding team, our specialists, they've seen every kind of configuration imaginable and will be there for you to talk through and determine which option's right for you. Okay, so we've already talked through 2 of the steps of getting started, talk through setting up your account, the options for setting up a data sync, and lastly, you can talk about login methods. So this is, again, the best, like one of the easiest parts to get started because it's intuitive to what you already have set up in your environment. So I know for many of you, you're either in a Google district or you're in Office 365 district, and all of those options are available here. If you even want to set up a custom LDAP connection, so if you have maybe a separate system in place, that's something you can also do here. So I've listed a couple of the options here, and our platform will walk you through how you can do that in a couple of steps. So beyond that, something we also have, and I know Roland already called out at the top, are badges. Badges are QR codes that are automatically generated for anybody that you make them available to, and can be held up to a camera-enabled device. So Chromebook, iPad, Windows device with a webcam on top, you name it. And it can scan a user in, as you can see in the graphic here on the left. This is one of our favorite tools at Clever because it's so easy, it's so seamless, and the level of delight it brings to students is just indescribable.
Jennifer,
as many of y'all,
interrupt you. I actually still have my Clever badge.
Do you?
Yeah, I found it the other day, and level of delight it brings to students. So when I demoed this in Dallas, I actually had staff asking if we could make them badges. So yeah, be careful with that one. Everybody will want one.
That's very true. They will go like hotcakes.
Yeah, I have one because I was cool and in charge. There you go.
So you got the Roland endorsement there, which I think goes a long way. But regardless, if you've ever worked with K3s or some of our students who have IEPs or who are ELL, you know that it is challenging to navigate them through logging into a device and all the various other logins that they have to go through before they get to where they need to be. With the Clever badge, this will hopefully expedite that whole process and get them in within seconds. I cannot describe, I went on a site visit back when we used to be able to do those at the beginning of the year. And I walked into this kindergarten classroom and the teacher was just like, all right, everybody, hold up your badges. We're going to log in. And it was literally 20 little kindergartners just popping their badges up at once. And the little ding pops up and they're all just giggling because they can't believe that this is happening. So that's all to underscore that this is a really fun tool that we see a lot of folks leverage. It makes logging in a lot easier and it's easy to manage at a district level and at a teacher level. Okay. So, and I think one of the other things to call out here is that badges are not exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive from these other login methods that we've talked about. You can set up any one of these, Google, Active Directory, Office 365, whatever it is, along with badges, and also vice versa. So if you do end up having an environment with a variety of methods, that's fine. And that's something that we can support. Okay, so we've talked through quite a few steps here. So we've talked through, um, setting up the account, the options for your data sync, the options for logging in. And then let's also talk through some of the quick next steps when it comes to applications. As Roland mentioned, there are a bunch of resources that are available to you through the home learning, Texas home learning efforts, and more to come. But all of these will be able to be accessed through Clever. So actually something that I want to call out is it is going to be fairly straightforward for you to go in directly to your account once you're set up, type in whatever you're looking for, and add that application. Once you add it, you're going to be able to get walked through the process of determining who has access. And then from there, the accounts are launched. So calling out how simple this process is once all the other components are set up. And to give you a visual of that, this is a example of our applications gallery. So literally all these things that you could find in there. And then you just go through the search bar and look for whatever you're looking for. Through working with the TEA and on the Texas Home Learning effort, if you're interested in those specific resources, we're able to just get direct invitations to you. So you can add those resources with one click. But even if we don't have those in place, you can always find them through the search bar here too.
Jennifer, I got a quick question about badges from Tara. She
Cool.
asked, if a student loses his badge, can their file be reset with a new badge but not lose their data?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. And one of the things that we thought about when we were building badges is, well, first off, because you're working with K-3s or with younger students, the likelihood of things going missing or getting destroyed is pretty high. So we have tools in place for district level folks, school level folks, and teachers to reset and regenerate badges. That way, no matter what happens, you'll be able to get your student into Clever.
Now, I
And
have an
even if, yeah.
associated question. Since students may not be at school, what if the dog eats the badge at home?
Oh, such a good question. We actually this summer added a new feature within Clever where in the student portal, you can automatically generate a badge directly from there. You don't even have to have a teacher or a school level person or district level person and get involved. Another avenue, and I think we touched on it very lightly, is that the family portal also allows family members to log into Clever on behalf of their students. So, back to the same scenario, kindergartner gets their badge eaten by a dog, their parent can come along and help get them back into class.
I only ask because my dog was just sniffing around my badge when
You can't let that one get eaten, Roland. That one's special.
Yeah, I don't think this one can be reprinted because it's like a
No, I don't think so. It's been a while, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yes.
But yeah, those are fantastic questions, and those are things that we can also work with you on as you think about your implementation. Okay, so we've talked through quite a few components here, and I just wanted to share with you, we have a number of resources available to you. So in addition to the onboarding team that I kept referring to when you get started with the process, we also have a dedicated support team for troubleshooting no matter where you are in your journey. So whether that's a brand new district, don't even know what Clever is, all the way to champion using all the different tools, our support team is there for you. We have a hotline, and we also have a help center with all the different articles and resources for you to access. Another thing is Clever Academy. This is our online training resource with self-paced PD for teachers and admins, both at a district and a school level. So if you want to level up your knowledge or you're trying to learn more, that's the place to go. And also just a shout out to our social media, but also we'd love to hear about how your implementation is going through there as well. So anytime you want to let us know how things are, we're excited to hear from you. Okay, so With that, and in the interest of giving y'all some time this afternoon, I do want to transition over to Q&A. I've also included our team's email here, success@clever.com. So for those of you who are either interested in getting started or already in the process, this is the place that you can go to for additional questions. But in the meantime, I would love to hear, what are things that y'all are thinking about? Oh, great question. I see from Genevieve here. Is there a way to add specific websites that may not have a Clever app, such as a district-specific tech help desk? That's a fantastic question. And that's actually something we see a lot of. So as you can imagine, you can have all sorts of resources, but there are just like some specific websites that you know every student or teacher will need to have access to. And these are all things that you can add to Clever as well. So we support links, we support PDFs, we support effectively anything that can be uploaded. You can add that to Clever.
Jennifer, if I could add, I actually did that when I implemented this in Dallas.
Yeah.
I probably severely abused the portal because anything I could link in there, I did, including creating like what I called a fake SSO by using things that I could create a SSO relationship with Google, but stick it in the Clever portal since we were using Google credentials, and it looked like it was in Clever, but it wasn't, but it was. So there you go. I'll be glad to explain that trick to anybody who really needs more instructions. Okay.
Oh, I love that. I'll probably follow up with you on that one because I'd be curious to hear more. But I mean, that's a great example. Like, you know, thinking back to probably your time at Dallas, like there must have been so many district level websites or just general resources that y'all add, right?
Yep. We had 60 apps rostered and probably about 70 to 90 things actually linked in the portal. But scope, and I'm gonna go ahead and answer this next question. So in Clever, there is something called application scoping. What application scoping does, it allows you to be able to control which students can see an application. And I'm going to give you a very practical example of this. There was a particular class that only sixth grade technology, I forget what we called it, technology. It was basically a computer class, but it was only taken for one semester by sixth grade students in middle school. Prior to implementing Clever, we used to have to buy enough licenses for every middle school student in Dallas ISD. Once we implemented with Clever, we were able to only buy enough to cover one semester's worth of sixth grade students, and then it would automatically scope them depending on them being assigned into the class. So what scoping allowed us to do was say, these students in sixth grade taking this particular class get access to this particular application. And as students moved in and out of the class, the application got applied to the students moving in and out of the class. You can actually scope down to an individual student if you wanted to. I've actually pulled that one off before also.
Wow.
Yes. You have, you can scope, basically you're going to sync all of the SIS data to the application, but to Clever, but as you pick applications, you're going to say, wait a minute, we're only using this application in sixth grade, so only sixth grade students get to use this application, or only sixth grade students in Miss Johnson's class get to use this application. So it's actually, and it's very easy to do. The trickiest part is just figuring out exactly how you want to scope, and having that discussion with your curriculum department, because that was probably the most challenging thing, was just getting a response as to where I should put things.
Yeah. And I think that's well, first of all, thanks for that example. But secondly, I was going to say, like, I think that's one of the big things about any implementation, right? Is that you have to have that relationship and that buy-in with your curriculum team, if you're on the tech side, and then obviously if you're on the curriculum side with your tech side, because it has to be seamless.
Rolling out your Clever portal to your district. Genevieve, are your students using Chromebooks by any chance? Okay.
Oh, you look like yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, oh, this is the fun part. So if your if your students are using Chromebooks, first I would strongly suggest that you make sure that, and I'm hoping that you chose Google as your identity provider. If you've done that, what you want to do is make the portal the or have your I guess it's Google Workspaces now. Have your Google domain administrator make the portal the landing page. I mean the start page for when the students open up the browser in their Chromebook. So basically what will happen is they log in with their Google credentials. The first thing that's going to pop up is the portal rather than going to just a blank start page in the Google Chrome browser. And that will actually pretty much do what you needed to do. Also, anytime you add an application to Clever, it will automatically send out an email to the teachers who that application would be pertinent to. You know, like for example, if it was a 6th grade math application, it's going to email your 6th grade math teachers and tell them, hey, there's a new application available in Clever. But the easiest way is just to make the Clever landing page the start page for your students, and you can do that through the Google domain controls.
Yeah, that's a great call out on some of the tips and tricks that are available, especially with the Google setup. I'd say like stepping back broadly. So if anybody else has that question and may not be using Chromebooks, within Clever, we also have a rollout guide tool. So it's a self-service guide that walks you through a lot of the additional steps that you can take to make sure you have a smooth rollout. And within that, it even has things like email templates that you can send out to teachers and schools, letting them know this is coming. There's even a training video, like a quick 10-minute one that can help get folks started. And in addition to that, you know, as I mentioned, we have our self-paced Clever Academy, but our onboarding team is phenomenal and they do office hours with new districts and also have, you know, additional implementation webinars to support folks who have questions. So rest assured, if you need help, I would take as your first step, you know, reaching out to our team here, success@clever.com, and using a lot of those in-product resources. Thanks so much for that question. Uh, Roland, I'm seeing here there's a question from Oscar here about sharing out this resource and also if the webinar recording or deck will be released. Do you know how that's going to be released to folks?
We usually put up the webinar recordings on the THL website,
Got it.
and the slide decks are also linked there, I believe.
Perfect.
But we can also make sure that the folks that are on this particular session get it directly.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm going to just drop in the question, the link to the Texas Home Learning website so folks can find it.
And we have another question. Does rostering overwrite any previous information entered in programs? So here's what I would tell you on this one. Talk to the application vendor. And I'm going to be very cautious with this answer here. Usually it is the case that that triggers an overwriting situation. But there are sometimes the application vendor can work with you to be able to merge information so that even though it may create new roster data in the system, there may be a way to actually link existing application information to the new roster data. but again, talk to the learning application vendor, and they should be able to tell you what can. I've seen this situation go both ways, where they could do something about it, and where it was just nothing could be done. Usually that happens when you have an application where teachers have already gone in and kind of created stuff on their own, and now you're trying to create a structured rostering system behind that. But yeah, talk to the application vendor.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And our onboarding team is also available for you to talk through that, because we also have some best practices that we've seen in working with the application vendors. We've seen certain things happen more consistently. But at the end of the day, I think one of the things that we see pretty consistently is the change management, right? So to what Roland mentioned at the end there, when teachers have already created accounts or perhaps like set up a certain thing within a specific app, it's making sure that there's proactive communication to them that that could potentially get changed or upgraded, or this new system will be in place. And that's something that I've seen help in those kind of situations.
And yes, that's a good point. We're at the middle of the year, so
Yeah.
tech people on the call, don't change up anything without letting people know ahead of time, or else there will be much screaming and gnashing of teeth and things of that nature. So let them know that you're about to, make things better for them, but it'll be different. So
Yeah, and I think that's also a really good call out for where we are in the school year. Not only is it in the middle, but we're about to head to the end of one semester, and that's actually a time that we see a lot of these transitions happen really smoothly, because a lot of folks will be on on break or not in their resources or not even online. So that could be a time when you're thinking about transitioning some additional resources to flip things over and also give you some testing period, right? Like a good dedicated time of several days to figure out the nuances before it's out in the wild and folks can't get it back, or can't get back their old situation. Oh, and thank you so much, Emily. She is on on the TA team, and she mentioned that the webinar and slides will be available on the home learning website, and they will be there soon. Cool. Any other questions from folks on the line? So someone has just jumped in and asked about QR, or the badges, the QR codes, and asked, how does it look like to log into a Chromebook? I can actually see if I can find you an example here. So just give me 1 second. Roland, I know you had that set up in Dallas, or
yeah,
was it Dallas?
it's magic. No, seriously, the students would open up the device. You we had a transformation innovation. It was pre-K to third grade school that used Chromebooks, and it actually makes Chromebooks usable with younger students. They pull out the badge, wave it in front of the webcam, and there you go. Now, of course, it needs to be on, but they wave in front of the webcam and just logs them all the way through to the portal page. And from that point, they just click on what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's magic. And whenever I would demonstrate it for an administrator or for some teachers, they would act like it was magic. But
Yeah.
it's pretty cool, especially for younger students, and it actually makes Chromebooks more usable, because that's kind of the challenge with them is, having a 5 or 6 year old remember a username and password, even if it's very, very simple to
Mhm.
get into an application.
I'll be honest, I still sometimes struggle with that, so I don't blame the 6-year-old. But to the person who's asking the question, I'm actually pulling up a article from our help center that has the flow, mocks of the flow, since we're not all in person. I can't show you on a live device, but effectively what happens is you actually get prompted with the screen to sign in, and you will be brought to a place where once you've enabled the camera, this will be the person's face, and you can scan the badge, and then they're directly into the device. So the idea behind it, as Roland mentioned, is that it should take you directly into Clever and also into the device. What's neat is that it also starts an active Google session. So for those of y'all who are Google districts, you'll just be immediately launched into your G Suite and all the other things that you may be using in there. Another question here, Google related. Does Clever work with Google Classroom? Fantastic question. And I know Roland just alluded to one of the tricks that he had used to set it up, but the short answer is yes. The longer answer is, let's talk about what kind of setup you have. How do we enable it to make it as seamless as possible? If you're already a Google district, something that we've seen work really easily is just linking Google Classroom. So classroom.google.com, and it'll immediately prompt students in.
So kind of to give you an idea of kind of the pre-work there. So if the slide where Jennifer was showing like the login method, right? You, in order to make that as seamless as possible, what you want to do is you want to choose Google as login method, even though your district may actually use LDAP or Office 365. That is usually if that is the case, that's usually communicating directory information to Google, and you can still use Google as the login method for Clever, and that will make sure that when students, like for example, they're using a badge or they're logging into the Chromebook, that login logs them into everything. And so that will log them into G Suite, that will log them into Clever and every application rostered through Clever. So it's truly a single sign-on system at that point. So that's the one thing I can tell you when setting up Clever for your district. No matter what staff directory credentials are used, you always, if your district is largely using Chromebooks, let me say that. Let me give that one caveat. Largely using Chromebooks with students, you want to make Google the identity provider for Clever. And the implementation specialist the Clever success specialist will probably remind you of that when you're making that choice.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And thank you for walking us through that. Oh, I see one question here. Can you tell me more about the family portal? Yeah, that's a great question and something that we touched on briefly in the presentation. But one of the great resources that we thought about this year was how do we bring in the whole ecosystem to Clever? And we realized that families and guardians are an essential part that we hadn't built tools for. So effectively what we created was an extension of the Clever portal that includes families. So districts can actually manage this where they can send out invitations to families and guardians to give them access to their students' accounts. And this way they can see the same things that their student is logging into. They can help them with the troubleshooting, what we talked about with the dog eating the badge. And they can also just have visibility in how their kids are doing. And so the idea behind it is to create a cohesive environment. So that's what the family portal is. Happy to talk more extensively about it, but that's an additional resource that you can set up through Clever. Okay.
We got another question here.
Yeah, they're coming in hot, aren't they?
My my younger students are use iPads. Does Clever work on an iPad? I can say yes, but Jennifer can tell you more about that.
They definitely work on iPads. And actually, we do have a Clever specific app that supports with logins there. We see a lot of folks, especially for K2 or K3, will use iPads. So no worries there. So I seem to get the impression that the group here is disproportionately Google, or at least favors Google. So, all right. Any other questions, folks? I love that y'all are engaged and have a lot of questions to think through. Cool. All right. So in that case, if there are no other questions, we wanted to thank you again for your time. We know this is not only just a crazy year, but the Friday before Thanksgiving holiday. So thank you again for joining us for this conversation. And on the Clever end, we're super excited to be working with you and supporting you with this implementation.
Also, I'd like to thank Jennifer for providing us with this information. And I will tell you, just from my personal experience in the district and working with Clever, they're very easy to work with. So if you still have questions or not sure about something, go ahead and make contact, because generally they can help you understand anything that you might be, a little unsure about, or wondering, okay, is this actually going to work in my situation?
Thanks so
Thanks a
much,
lot,
Juan.
Jennifer.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I see one last person is trying to ask us a question. I think Tara, I'm going to try to allow you to talk here. Oh,
I'm sorry, I just accidentally hit that hand.
oh, okay. No worries. Did you still have a question?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much. All right. Well, if that's all, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time. Let us know if you have questions, and have a wonderful holiday and stay safe out there.
Everybody have a great holiday.
Take care. Thanks so much, Roland.
You too, Jennifer.
Take care.
Take care. All right.